Stratton. You may call your next witness.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense rests.
Defendant Jessica Groves has rested their presentation of evidence. Ms. Scott, are you ready to proceed with your presentation?
I am, Your Honor.
You may call your first witness.
Your Honor, at this time I would call Daniel Groves to the stand.
If you'll raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Please have a seat.
Daniel, could you please state your full name for the record?
Daniel Allen Groves, Sr.
Okay. And make sure you keep your voice up.
Okay.
You're married to Jessica Groves?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and talk about an incident that has happened in your life, just so we can go ahead and what we call get the elephant out of the room. You do have a misdemeanor of the first-degree shoplifting theft charge. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. And that incident, the date of that incident occurred on September the 15th of 2018. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Took place at Kroger.
That's correct.
And you actually were convicted of that charge later on in January of 2019, correct?
Correct.
And you were placed on probation, or sometimes called community control for that. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You did not get any jail time as a result of that charge?
I know it was suspended.
Okay. And that could be considered a crime of dishonesty, correct?
Yes, it could.
But is it your intention here today to tell the truth?
Absolutely.
Okay. Are you the father of Daniel and Dylan Groves?
Yes, I am.
And where did you reside?
At 2241 Mount Hope Road, Otway, Ohio.
Okay. When did you find out that Jessica was pregnant with Dylan?
It was somewhere in late October, 1st of November when she told me. She
Okay.
told me that she had known for a couple weeks but had not told me.
Okay. And make sure you keep your voice up. I'm not sure if everybody else is hearing you or not.
Okay.
So she was several months along prior to you learning that she was pregnant, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is it because you're just not an observant individual, or she just wasn't showing very much?
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that she had got a little belly, but she had not been working, and I had been cutting some timber on my property and then working for myself, and we had ordered a lot of takeout and stuff, and I thought she had just gained some weight, which happens, up and down.
Okay. You heard, I believe it was on the second day that we were here, second or third day we were here, that a caseworker had made a note in the activity logs for Children's Services records that you indicated that Jessica did not go to prenatal appointments because she was too high. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes, I do.
And could you please put that into context for us? Was that something that you knew that she was missing prenatal appointments, or something you learned after the fact?
That was something I learned after the fact, and I did explain that to her. I told her that when she found out she was pregnant late, she had only had a couple appointments. I was, I wasn't employed for nobody at the time, so I was picking up odd and end jobs, and I was working when she was supposed to go to the appointments, and to my understanding, she was going to the appointments. I didn't find out until after the fact.
Okay. So when did you actually learn she had missed all those prenatal appointments?
After Dylan was born.
Okay. Is that when she came clean with you?
Yes, she came clean to me actually about 5 minutes into the ride to the hospital that she had been using drugs and that she had not went to her appointments.
Was that a shock to you?
To say the least.
Okay. While you were at the hospital, did you attempt to answer the medical staff's questions?
Yes, I did attempt to answer questions, but I did hesitate some because, you got to understand, I learned a lot on the way in there. I was trying to process all that. I was worried about my wife. I was extremely worried about my child being born at the time. I felt some intimidation from her being with somebody for 24 years, I just a protective nature.
Okay. Did you want to answer their questions?
Absolutely.
Were you afraid to, based on those circumstances, to answer their questions?
Yes, I was somewhat afraid.
Okay. We heard there was a description by some of the staff that came in and testified that you were actually looking at Jessica prior to answering those questions. Was that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay. Was the whole situation intimidating to you?
Absolutely.
Is Jessica intimidating to you at some times?
Yes, she can be.
Is that something that's inherent in your relationship or runs through your relationship?
Rephrase your question.
Sure.
Objection sustained.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. I'll rephrase. How so is she intimidating to you at times?
Just at times when certain things would happen or occur, she would sometimes threaten me with, causing problems in our marriage, leaving me, stuff to that nature.
Okay. So was this typical of your relationship throughout the years, that there would be periods of Jessica intimidating you or putting blame on you or trying to...
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
Okay. Was this typical behavior of your relationship with Jessica?
Yes.
Still leading, Your Honor.
Next and overruled.
At the hospital, did you go to the nursery and see baby Dylan?
Yes, I did.
Okay. When did you go and see him?
Exact time, I don't know, but I had actually asked one of the nurses, I don't recall which one, if I could go, and she had told me that I needed to wait because where he was having problems, they needed to take him and assess him and put him on oxygen, and they would let me know when I could come.
So you were waiting for medical personnel to indicate to you, or were you waiting for medical personnel to indicate to you that it was okay to go down to the nursery?
Yes, I was waiting. I never did get told that, so I eventually asked again.
Okay. And we heard testimony early on that you arrived down there approximately an hour or so after the baby was born?
Yeah, no, I don't have an exact time, but it was somewhere like around 7.
And when you went down there, did you speak with medical staff about Dylan and his condition?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you try to ascertain what state of health he was in and if he was doing all right?
Yes, I asked I'm not sure which one it was. I don't remember her name. I recall her face. She was in here, but I asked her how he was doing, stuff to that nature, and why he was having to be put on oxygen. And
were you also concerned about your wife and her health as well?
absolutely.
Okay. Did you stay at the hospital that entire day?
Yes.
Okay. It's my understanding, and we heard some testimony, that Children's Services arrived at the hospital sometime that evening, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you were asked to produce a urine sample for a urine screen.
Yes, I was.
Okay. Did you fake that or falsify the results of that test in any way?
Absolutely not.
Was anyone in the restroom with you when you produced that sample?
No, I was alone. The door was cracked. Miss Johnson was standing right outside the door.
Okay. Did anyone besides yourself put urine in that sample cup?
Objection, Your Honor.
Grimes.
Leading.
Sustained.
Line of questions.
Rephrase the question, Ms. Scott.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Describe the process of putting urine in the cup.
I went into the bathroom. She had tore some labels off the cup, prepared to get it ready, told me to go in there to put urine in the cup, put the lid back on it, set it down or bring it back out to her. Do not flush the toilet, do not wash my hands.
Did you follow those instructions?
Yes, I did.
Was Daniel Jr. in the restroom with you?
No, Daniel Jr. was not even at the hospital at this time.
Okay. Was anyone else in the restroom with you at that time?
No, there was not.
Okay. You heard a nurse describe that later on in that afternoon, when she encountered you for the second time, that you appeared as if you were on something. Did you hear that testimony?
Yes, I did.
Had you taken any illegal drugs?
No, I had not. I had been up for over 30-some hours straight, though.
Okay. Would that account for being quiet, maybe looking glassy-eyed?
I would say it would, yes.
Okay. At Children's Services Board, you once again took a urine sample, and we heard that described by Patricia Kraft here in her testimony.
Yes.
Did you hear that? Do you recall hearing that testimony?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Please describe that procedure for the court as well.
I came into the office, and
Can I just interrupt you right there? Did you know you were going to have to produce a urine sample that day?
absolutely not. I was called and told I needed to come to the office to sign paperwork to pick up, that was on a Friday, to pick up my son Dylan on Monday morning.
Okay. So what happened when you got to Children's Services that day?
I arrived there. I spoke to Lisa Thomas, and she had me fill out some paperwork, sign my name on some stuff, went over some general basic stuff with me. They took me back to the restroom, gave me the cup, same procedure as a hospital. I went in, they left the door cracked. I went in, put urine in the cup, did not flush the toilet, washed my hands.
Did you follow the procedure that Children's Services asked you to do?
Yes, I did.
But part of that procedure is that you're not supposed to run water and not supposed to flush the toilet.
Correct.
Okay, did you wait until after you got the all clear to flush the toilet and wash your hands?
Yes, they asked me to bring it out to them. I took them out to it. They told me that I could go in and wash my hands.
Okay. Was anyone else in the restroom with you?
No, there was not.
Okay. Was Daniel Jr. in the restroom with you?
No, he was not even there.
Okay. So let's talk about the urine that Daniel told us about yesterday. Were you collecting that urine for yourself?
No, I was not.
Okay. Who was you collecting that urine for?
I was actually collecting that urine for a best friend of mine. I understand it was wrong, but I admit that I was doing that.
Okay. So why weren't you giving your own friend your own urine?
Because at a bachelor party, I had smoked some marijuana and occasionally would smoke, a little.
So
And I was worried that it was maybe still in my system because I wasn't for sure the time frame on that.
So was it ever your intention, or were you using that urine of Daniel's to fake test with Children's Services?
No.
Let's talk a little bit about the bruising and the swelling that Daniel described yesterday. Tell the court what you believed happened. Well, first of all, do you recall this incident that he's talking about?
Yes, I recall the bruising, but not the swelling.
Okay. When did this happen, if you recall?
It was somewhere around late February, I believe. I'd actually went out. We was going to go grocery shopping, and I'd went out to start the car and let it warm up and clear some snow. There was a little snow on. And I came back in, and my wife had told me that the dream catcher had failed, and she said that he got it caught up in his arm, which there was a red mark on his arm from the dream catcher. It had, like the little stringy stuff in it. And we figured that he probably freaked out and went to moving his arms and hit it. It was just a light bruise. The bruising was going within less than 2 days. I actually, because I kind of wondered at first, and I actually took the dream catcher. There was like a little a wolf or Indian thing on it, and I even held it to his head, and it was actually a perfect match to what the light bruise was.
Okay. Please describe the area of bruising that you witnessed and you saw.
It was just a small bruise on his forehead. I'm not for sure which side it was on. I don't recall, but it was just a small bruise on his forehead.
You heard Daniel describe, and he made a motion that there was bruising where his hair would have been or where his hair should be. Is that an accurate description?
No, I don't think that is accurate. I never saw no swelling whatsoever.
Okay. Did you at any time suspect that there was more to that injury other than that dream catcher falling
No,
and
I did
hitting him in
not.
the head?
No, I did not.
Did you see any lacerations to the baby?
None.
Okay. So let's talk about juvenile court. There were some juvenile court proceedings in this case regarding Dylan and Daniel. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You heard how Mr. Dunham described how males are required to give urine samples for juvenile court proceedings.
Yes, I heard that.
Okay. Did you ever take a test for juvenile court proceedings, a urine test?
Yes, I did. I'm not sure an exact date, but it was like within 5 to 7 days after Dylan's, when he was born.
If I showed you a document that had a date on that test, would that refresh your recollection?
Yes, it probably would.
Your Honor, may I retrieve that document and show it to him to refresh his recollection?
Your Honor, may we approach?
Your Honor, for purposes of refreshing recollection, we would ask that this would be a mark as Rose defendant, Daniel Rose defendant, Exhibit A, correct? Let the record reflect I'm showing that to Mr. Tiemann.
You may approach.
Now, may I approach the witness, Your
You may
Honor?
approach the witness.
Daniel, I'm going to ask that you take a look at that document and see if it helps refresh your recollection in this matter.
Yes, that's the document that I did sign on January 17th, 2019.
Could you please state that date again?
January 17th of 2019.
So is that the date that you would have provided a urine screen for juvenile court?
Yes.
Okay. And was your urine screen negative at that time?
Yes, it was.
And once again, was Daniel Jr. in the restroom with you?
No, he was not present.
Was anyone in the restroom with you other than the court officer
No.
administering the test?
No, just 2 court officers.
There were 2 court officers?
Yes, they actually took me and one took me and another guy took another guy down at the same time.
Okay. Was there an officer watching you the entire time?
Yes.
Did you have to stand at a urinal?
Yes.
And as a result of taking drug screens for juvenile court, are you required to sign off on those results?
Yes.
And did you on this occasion?
Yes, my signature is right here on this paper.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the Help Me Grow agency that we heard testimony from since the trial has been pending. Did you understand or have any knowledge that you needed to participate in that program?
I was never clarified that it was mandatory. I was just under the understanding that it was a voluntary program.
Did you think that Dylan needed to participate in that program?
I at the time did not even know about what all the the program provided and stuff, but I did not think that he needed anything like that. No.
Okay. Do you recall getting these letters or phone calls that they discussed in their testimony?
I do remember getting letters later on, but cell phone service is limited out there. I mean, I did get a message from her just as they spoke about the weather. It had got canceled at one time, and I did have a couple voicemails from her later, yes.
Okay. Did you think you were doing anything wrong by not participating in the
Yes, Your
program?
Honor, leading.
Sustained. Repeat your question.
Did you come to any kind of conclusion about the Help Me Grow program?
No, other than I just thought it was a voluntary program. You could participate if you wanted, and if you didn't, you didn't have to.
Okay, thank you. Now let's talk about the lab work that was requested by Dr. Hudson that was discussed a couple of days ago. to please tell the court, please tell the jury about that lab work and what you did, what you didn't do, what you thought you were required to do?
Okay, so at first, at one of Dylan's appointments, he had told me about the levels. I'm unsure of that name on it, but he told me that the levels were low, and he told me that a lot of times there was some false negatives, but he wanted to be sure. So after his appointment that day, we took him to the hospital. We actually had to take him to 2 different labs because the first lab we took him to in the Fulton building, they did not feel they had the right stuff to do the test with such a young newborn. So we took him to SOMC at the hospital, to their lab, and they performed the test. Then there was some misunderstanding about the test. I had actually got a call from one of the lab workers, and he had told me that there was some confusion about one of the tests and that he was not sure that Dr. Hudson wanted to perform it, but he wasn't for sure. He wasn't for sure of what test that Dr. Hudson did not get that he wanted. So he was supposed to contact him and contact me back, and I never did make communications with him again.
Okay. So Daniel, let's get into this. Did you ever see or suspect that Jessica was causing the injuries to Dylan that would have resulted in his rib fractures or his skull fracture?
Absolutely not.
How could you not have known? That's what everybody's going to want to know.
Believe me, I have asked myself that every day, a million times since. I don't know. I mean, he did do some extra crying, I thought, but I even Googled and looked up about, because I had, about babies being born addicted to drugs, and I done research and read on it that said that newborns, sometimes up to 6 months, would do excessive crying, be more irritable, and stuff of that nature. So I just took it as that was what it was. And I read, looked it up what maybe would help him, and it said to maybe just stimulate him, change his environment at the time or something. So there would be times that I would, he would maybe get to crying a little more. I would pick him up and mess with him, and he would stop. I had a workshop out back of my house. Sometimes I would take him out there with me just to change his environment, and it would help.
Other than the incident that we have already talked about, that Daniel described yesterday, did you notice any other outward signs of bruising or swelling to Dylan?
No, I did not.
Did you in any way cause the death of Dylan?
Absolutely not.
Did you observe Jessica in any way cause the death of Dylan?
No, I did not.
Did you suspect any behavior of Jessica that would have resulted in Dylan's death?
No, I did not. She was always a loving, caring mother to Daniel Jr., and I've never expected anything like this.
Did you actively participate in Dylan's death or observe anyone, including Jessica, cause Dylan's death?
No, I did not.
And once again, when did he pass away?
March 28th, 2019, within probably a couple hours after the social worker or the CPS worker was there.
So why did you tell Jody Conkle that it was a day or two after the caseworker was there?
Because at the time, I'd been in such grief and shock and being sick, because I did use some drugs after my last son was taken. I just went through the experience of losing my baby and losing my older son, and I fell to drugs. I admit that. I wasn't even sure of the date that the CPS worker was there, and that's why I told Ms. Conkle that it was the 28th, 29th, 30th, somewhere right in there. I wasn't for sure, what date it was at the time.
You had a landmark for the day with Children's Services worker
Yeah,
being
yeah.
there, but you weren't exactly sure what the date was.
Yeah, I just wasn't for sure.
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
Did you use Patricia Kraft being there as the landmark for the date of Dylan's death?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Was that the best day you could reference it to?
Yes,
Sustained.
When you were talking to Jody Conkle, Were you doing your best to give her a frame of reference of time?
Objection, Your Honor, reading.
Sustained. Rephrase your questions, Ms. Beth. Open it to questions.
Please describe for the court the process of giving Jody Conkle a day for when baby Dylan had passed away.
The date that the CPS worker was there last.
So when you were testing clean for children's services in juvenile court in January, were you actually clean?
Yes, I was.
So when did you start using?
Early May of 2019.
So what happened after you discovered Dylan had passed away?
Well, I had came into the living room and found him in his pack and play where he laid out during the daytime. I'd found him there deceased. And I went into total shock, grief, of course.
How did Jessica behave towards you after you, strike that, Your Honor, I want to rephrase. Was Jessica in the room with you when you discovered that Dylan had passed away?
When I first walked in there, she was not, but she had followed me in within just probably a minute.
So what was Jessica's reaction?
She was very upset, of course, in shock too. She seemed somewhat nervous and scared, and started telling me that, if they would be blaming it on me and us, and because of being involved in CPS.
What was her demeanor and her behavior like towards you?
She was very radical, very forthcoming, very just kind of pressuring me.
Was there any of this fear and intimidation that you had described from her behavior in the past?
Leading.
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
What were your conversations?
Just about CPS, thinking that it would be both our faults. And she kept telling me, they're going to blame you, they're going to blame you. You have custody of the baby. They're going to blame you and not me.
How did that make you feel?
It made me feel very scared.
What was her demeanor like?
She was forceful, kept over and over and over repeating to me that they would blame me because I had custody of the baby.
What became your honest belief at that time in regards to being blamed for Dylan's death, based on Jessica's attitude and conversations to you?
I got set in my mind that they probably would blame me because I had custody and was responsible for him.
What went into your decision-making to place Dylan into the well?
That same stuff, and her forcing me and kept telling me that they was going to blame me.
What was your reason for not being truthful at first with the law enforcement?
I was just very scared, very afraid.
Were you sick?
Yes, I was
Objection, Your
sick.
Honor, reading.
Overruled.
I was very afraid of they was going to just blame it all on me, basically.
And was that based on what Jessica had told you she would do?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, reading.
Overruled.
Yes, it was.
Again, Daniel, did you cause Dylan's death?
Absolutely not.
Did you in any way hide him from Children's Services while he was alive?
No, I did not. Did I cancel some appointments? Yes, I did, but I did not know why hide him from CPS.
Did you hurt him in any way?
Absolutely not.
Did you help Jessica hurt him?
No,
Did you know she would hurt him or cause his death?
no.
Your Honor, I have no more questions at this time. Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. You described this relationship that you have with Jessica and that you've been together over 24 years and that you've been married for over 20. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Even though you've been together for all of that time and you've been married for a significant portion of time, if you had suspected she was capable of causing injuries that would cause him to be seriously harmed or that would have resulted in his death, what would you have done in regards to Jessica being permitted to be around him?
I would absolutely not have let her around him. Just like if I would have knew that any of these injuries had occurred to him, it would have been a total different decision to when I decided to help her hide him too. I, at the time, just thought he had just passed away for some other reason.
Do you believe that you were deceived by Jessica?
Yes, lady.
Pretty good question, Ms. Scott.
Is this a situation where you were deceived by Jessica, or, sorry, Your Honor.
Yeah, she's still living.
Go ahead and ask
Okay.
the modified vote, Ms. Scott.
Okay. Throughout the time that you had Dylan in your home, throughout the time that Jessica had access to him, were you, or do you have a belief that you were deceived by Jessica?
Absolutely.
Did you do anything? Did you have any other behaviors? Did you have any other responsibilities in this case other than not reporting his death to authorities?
Other than helping her take him to the well, I had no other part in it.
Did you have any other responsibilities other than help prepare Dylan to put him in those crates?
Can you rephrase the question?
Did you have any other responsibility in his death or hiding from law enforcement other than not reporting his death, preparing him to be put in those crates, and ultimately placing him in the well?
No, I had no other involvement in it.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Mr. Stratton, do you wish to cross-examine?
Just a couple questions, Your Honor. Mr. Groves, how long have you and Jessica been together?
Approximately 24 years,
24 years. And of those years, how long have you been married?
over 20.
Over 20. In any time over those 20 years, was there a point in which you have seen terrible behavior out of Jessica Groves?
Terrible
Except
as
here
in,
recently.
terrible as in,
Did she ever harm your oldest child?
absolutely not.
No indication from him?
No.
Okay. So, you were together for this entire period of time and come to understand how she interacts with the child,
Correct.
okay? Is it a surprise to you that this happened?
Absolutely. To say the least.
And once again, he died on March 28th, correct?
He died March 28th after the CPS worker left.
No further questions, Your Honor.
State may cross-examine.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Groves,
Yes, sir.
isn't it true that you promised Children's Services Board that you were employed?
Yes, I did.
Isn't it true that you indicated to the Children's Services Board you worked at Rural King?
Yes, it was.
Isn't it true you led Children's Services to believe?
He's been answering overruled.
Isn't it true that you led Children's Services to believe you were still employed at Rural King?
Yes, it was.
Isn't it true that you promised Children's Services that you didn't have a drug problem?
Yes, it was.
Isn't it true that you didn't mention to Children's Services any marijuana?
I did not.
Isn't it true that you were, for a period of months before and after you had the baby in your home, collecting urine from your son, Daniel?
Before, yes.
So when Daniel says before and after, he is lying.
I do not recall giving him or asking him for any urine after Dylan's birth.
You heard him testify here yesterday, correct?
I heard him do that, but I think he was mistaken on dates.
So you're saying suddenly you don't recall this from yesterday. You don't recall giving it to him after, getting it from him after.
No.
Well, explain the process where you got it from him.
I would ask him to put urine into a cup, and I would put it into another bottle.
Smaller one.
Mm-hmm.
Easier to conceal,
Mm-hmm.
easier to keep warm.
Sir, you need to answer yes or no, please.
Easier to keep warm. I have no idea about that.
You have no idea. We had a good buddy that had a good idea. Did he tell you how to do that? Is that what happened there?
He never told me how he did it.
Never told you how to. You just knew to put it in some kind of smaller cup for concealment.
Well, the cup that I had him collected in did not have a lid or nothing on it.
Okay, so then the other cup had a lid.
Mm-hmm.
It was smaller
Yes.
for concealment.
I don't know for concealment. I just know it was smaller to give it to my friend.
And it's your testimony that you were fearful that you were going to test positive for marijuana.
Yes, because was unaware of how long it stayed in my system.
Okay. And so then you tested at Children's Services, correct?
Yes.
You tested clean.
Yes.
But then you still had Dylan give you urine.
Daniel?
Daniel give you urine.
After Dylan was born?
Yes.
No.
No. So Daniel's totally mistaken about that.
I think he's just misunderstood, yes.
So you think he misunderstands when his dad comes up to him and says, "Pee in a cup for me."
On dates? Yes, I do. He's been through a lot in the last year.
He sure has.
Your Honor, I'm going to object as a commentary.
I'll withdraw the commentary, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Tiedemann.
Apologize to the court.
Objection sustained.
So these nurses at the hospital, you heard their testimony the other day.
Yes.
You heard their experience.
Yes.
You heard the drug epidemic that they're battling on a daily basis at Southern Ohio Medical Center.
Yes.
You're saying all those nurses, that nurse that said she saw you high later in that day, was wrong.
Yes, she was.
She was wrong or lying.
Yes.
One or the other, right?
I don't think she was lying. I think she was just mistaken.
She was mistaken.
Everybody's not right all the time, are they?
No, they're not.
Absolutely.
But I'll ask the questions. All right?
Sorry.
So they were wrong.
They was mistaken on me. Yes, they was.
And Dylan, or not Dylan, and Daniel was mistaken.
Just by a date.
So you're denying leaving the hospital to get high at that point.
I did not leave the hospital and get high, no.
They were also wrong about your relating to them that she hadn't been going to prenatal care. You were aware she hadn't been going to prenatal care because she was too high to go.
I was not aware that.
Objection. I would ask that he would clarify who the they was was, because I do not believe that that was medical staff. If he's still indicating medical staff, that was.
Don't argue your objection.
Sorry.
Overruled.
Will you repeat the question?
Isn't it true you represented that she wasn't going to prenatal care because she was too high?
I did to CPS workers after the fact that I found out.
So you never told that to anyone else?
No.
And you've never phrased that in a way, you're saying they misinterpreted what you said.
Misinterpreted what I said about what?
Because you had knowledge that she wasn't going to prenatal care because she was high.
Because I was told that by her.
But when they testified here, you had knowledge in their impression, correct?
The nurses?
Nurses, CPS workers, whoever else you told.
Yes, because she told me that on the way to the hospital that morning.
Let me ask you about another promise you made Children's Services. Isn't it true that you promised Children's Services that your wife would not be in the home unsupervised or overnight?
Yes, I did.
You broke that promise, did you?
As to which aspect?
Did you break that promise or not? How hard is it?
She did stay there a couple nights. Yes, she did.
Just a couple nights?
Yes.
So when Daniel said she was there, he just been a couple nights? Is that your testimony here today?
She was not leaving until after he was asleep, and she was returning right before he got up for school, because I was worried that he was going to be extremely worried about her not being there, because he was.
So you allowed that to happen?
A couple times, yes, I did.
Did you report to Children's Services that you violated the conditions of the safety plan or the safety, any of those plans?
I did tell Patricia Kraft that she did stay there one night, and Patricia Kraft told me that that was fine. She appreciated my honesty.
Did Patricia Kraft testify to that?
I'm not aware if she did or not.
You can see that baby Dylan had 3 separate instances of injuries.
Yes, I know that now.
You know that now. But you testified on direct that you had no way of knowing that you didn't know of that.
No,
Correct?
I did not. Other than the small bruise from the dream catcher.
Where were you at? Baby Dylan had all these injuries and you didn't notice it.
I had to just be inside my home, or briefly stepping out to go outside to take care of my dog or something.
You heard from the testimony. Did you care for the child at the home?
Yes, I did.
Did you bathe the child?
Yes, I did.
Change the child's diapers?
Yes, I did.
Change the child's clothing?
Yes, I did. Are you asking me if I was the only one that done it?
No, I'm asking you, did you do that?
Yes, I did.
States Exhibit 67, Your Honor. Sir, these nodules we see here in this exhibit, baby Dylan's ribs. That's just on the other layer of the skin. You're saying you didn't see anything in his rib cage. Any bruising?
No, I did not see no bruising, never.
State's Exhibit 58. You didn't see that bruising.
No,
State's Exhibit 58. You didn't see the bruising on the head.
no, and as I recall, the expert said that not always was there bruising.
No, but your son said he saw bruising all around the head, didn't he?
I did not see no bruising other than the bruise on his forehead.
We have this picture from that same exhibit. Has bruising all around his forehead, doesn't it?
I recall the expert saying that that could have been from post-mortem.
But it just happens to match what Daniel Jr. said the bruising was, didn't it?
It would appear to.
I'll leave that to the jury to decide.
Your Honor, once again, I would object this commentary.
Do you remember talking to Jody Conkle on multiple occasions?
Yes, I do.
You remember talking to her about, well, let's talk about this. You remember Dr. Hudson testifying?
Yes, I do.
That if a baby had that kind of injury, he'd be crying in pain.
Yes, I remember that testimony.
You remember Dr. Brown testifying that the other indicia of an issue not only would be bruising, swelling, but the baby crying or screaming in pain.
Yes, I do.
You recall talking to Jody Conkle on June 14th, 2019.
I recall talking to her a few times, but I don't remember which exact date.
Okay. Well, do you remember at one point in that conversation with her talking about him crying and crying and crying, and you'd take him out to that building and he'd suddenly stop crying?
Yes, I mentioned that before, that I thought it was from him being
And
born
then he'd
addicted
come
to
and bring
drugs.
you back in the
Your
house.
Honor, I would object and allow him to have my witness finish answering the questions.
Finish his answer, don't talk over each other.
I'm sorry, sir, did you finish your answer?
Yes, as I stated before, I thought it was because of him being born addicted to drugs. Like I said, I looked it up, and they said that infants sometimes up to 6 months would be more irritable, more touchy, do a lot more crying.
So you looked it up on Google, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I believe it was Google, yes. It was somewhere online.
Somewhere online.
Mhm.
Didn't call CPS?
Over some extra crying? No.
Didn't talk to your LPN wife?
I did talk to her about it, and she told me that it was most likely due to being addicted to drugs.
Same lady you're scared of?
Yes.
Didn't call Dr. Hudson?
No, I had no concern to call a doctor. It was just merely crying.
So
It
you
was
don't
never-
remember telling Detective Conkle that you saw your wife hit the baby a couple times?
I said that I had what I thought were dreams of it, but I was unsure if they were true or not. I was
Did you or
very
did you
sleep
not
deprived.
say you saw your wife you saw your wife strike the baby?
I said I did, but I thought it was dreams.
So it's a dream.
I was very sleep deprived.
Isn't it true that you said to Detective Conkle, I know it's fucked up, I should have never done this way, I knew better. And I seen her hit him probably 4 times, probably.
I don't recall how many times I said.
4 times on the head? Do you remember Detective Conkle asking you that?
I don't recall what questions were asked.
You don't recall answering yeah
I do recall answering yes
to that question?
to those questions, yes.
So you do remember telling Detective Conkle 4 times in the head,
But
answering that?
I didn't say that I recall her hitting. I said a smack.
So you're not saying her hit him probably 4 times?
My exact words, I don't recall exactly, no.
Is it true you told Detective Conkle she said because he wouldn't stop crying and because she was so agitated and aggravated, and if I got her Coke, she wouldn't be that way? You don't recall hearing that?
I recall saying that we did fight because she was wanting me to buy her drugs, yes.
So you do recall her threatening the child?
A direct threat, no.
No, not a direct threat. Okay, so you saw her strike the baby 4 times, correct?
Somewhere around there, yes.
And you didn't take it as a threat that she was aggravated with the baby, and all you need to do was buy her Coke?
As a direct threat, no.
That didn't give you cause for concern for the safety of this baby?
Yes, it did give me a cause for concern.
Okay, so now you are concerned at your wife's behavior in the home about the danger to the baby.
Yes, I was, but she was going.
And what did you do? Did you call Children's Services? Did you call Children's Services and tell them?
No, I did not. She was going through therapy.
Did you call the police?
No, I did not.
Did you call Andrea Bowling?
No, I did not.
Did you go down to the neighbors and say, I'm concerned?
No, I did not.
Did you kick her out of the house that she wasn't supposed to be in the first place?
She was not living there all the time. She was allowed to be there during the day.
And you let her come back in after that?
Yes, I did.
You go on to say, one time I saw her, she had a hold of him like below his arms. Remember this? Telling Jody Conkle that?
Or she picked him up aggressively out of a seat, yes.
Like by his ribs or something. And she just kind of went, ah. You remember that?
I don't recall exactly what all we talked about, no.
Matter of fact, didn't you tell Detective Conkle that might have been how he got his broken ribs?
I said, I wonder now if that wasn't how.
Well, you saw it then, right?
I didn't see nothing that I thought would occur to any injuries.
You're not making this up then, are you, Dad?
No, I'm not.
You're not making this whole story up that she's the one that caused the injuries, are you?
Absolutely not.
So you saw her do that?
I saw her be aggressive with him, but cause no injuries, no. I even observed the child.
Okay, so now it's your testimony that didn't cause any injuries. Any injuries.
No, it did not.
So Dr. Brown is full of crap. Is that your testimony?
Dr. Brown did not say that would cause the injuries.
No, let's see what Dr. Brown said. Dr. Brown, isn't it true that she said that the fractures on the rib were healing fractures?
Yes.
She said that was, in her opinion, her medical opinion from years of practicing medicine, that those were the first fractures on this baby.
I believe that's what she said, yes.
Okay. And then, what was the second fracture she said?
I think on the head.
On the head.
Was it on the back of the head?
So you testified, or she testified, that there was a 2-inch fracture with signs of healing on the head, on the right side of the head.
Yes.
Okay. And that happened, according to the professional, at a different time than the rib cage, correct?
Yes, I believe that's what she said.
And you just said you saw Jessica, if you're telling the truth, hit this baby 4 times.
Yes, but not to the extent to cause a fracture.
Okay. So then we see, it's a good point. When is it, in your opinion, ever appropriate to hit a 2-month-old baby?
I didn't say it was appropriate.
But yet, you took this baby back into your home, correct?
Yes.
You promised to protect this baby, that you would be the father.
Yes.
And when this baby was hit 4 times in the head, and when this baby was shaken by your wife, did you call Children's Services?
No, I did not.
Did you call 911?
No, I did not.
Did you call Andrea Bowling?
No, I did not.
Did you go to a neighbor's house and say, hey, get my wife out of there?
No, I did not.
Did you stop the hand that was hurting that baby?
No, I did not.
You failed to act. Correct?
Correct.
And because you failed to act, Dylan is dead today.
Those injuries would not have caused his death.
Why did she have access to that baby?
Because she was his mother.
And you were his father.
Yes, I was. Man.
And you saw multiple occasions where she was causing injury to this baby.
Just within a couple of days.
And you did nothing.
No, I did not.
So, you were around to see Jessica perform physical acts to those 2 of those 4 areas that baby Dylan, your son, was injured.
Yes.
You didn't stop it.
I didn't stop it. I
You didn't
stopped
stop
it.
any of that, did you?
Yeah, I stopped it then, yes.
Okay, well then, if you stopped it, how did he get a 3rd fracture?
I have no idea.
No idea. So he gets another fracture on the head. Correct?
Yes.
And then, all the bones in his arm were broken completely in 2.
That's what it says, yes. But I was unaware of that.
You're unaware of that. I was unaware of that. But this happened after the 2 you were aware of, correct?
They had to, yes.
They had to, exactly. And then the broken leg happened after that as well.
Correct.
And you want this jury to believe that you thought the baby just died.
Yes. I thought he did just die. I had seen no
You
more
want the jury to
outbursts from him.
believe that you're not responsible for this baby's death.
No, I'm not responsible. Did I make mistakes? Absolutely.
I didn't ask you a question.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. I think that he was trying to finish answering the question as asked.
Overruled, cross-examination.
So, do you understand blunt force trauma?
Yes.
All right, tell me, what's blunt force trauma?
Getting struck by something very hard.
Do you understand that the baby's bones aren't brittle, that they're rubbery? It can take a lot more than we think they can.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
So, you deny seeing the blunt force trauma of such a nature that it broke the upper arm bones, the upper arm bone, the lower arm bones, and the leg your baby boy?
Yes, I never saw nothing that
Where
would
were
cause
you?
that.
Where were you?
I was in the home.
You were in the home?
I mean, I didn't stay with him 24/7. I mean,
Well, who did then? If you weren't there, who was there?
well, I mean, there was times when I would go into another room, of course.
You go in another room, did you hear your baby screaming in pain?
No, I did not.
Did you hear multiple thumps?
No, I did not.
You did tell about one thump you heard when she was back in the bedroom with him.
Yeah, I
alone,
said
right?
I heard a thump, and she had told me that her purse or something fell off the bed.
Oh, so,
And he was laying there fine, so I would have no reason to think anything else was wrong.
all right, well, that's an occasion where she wasn't being supervised with the baby, was she?
I went to the bathroom. Was I supposed to take the baby to the bathroom with me too?
Your wife's on drugs, correct?
And at the time, I did not think she was, no.
Oh.
She was going to treatment. I thought she was
Well,
doing
She
better.
hadn't been to treatment since February 8th. Are you telling this court you didn't know that?
I did not. I
Or
knew
did you
that
bury your head in the sand?
I did not know that she had missed all those appointments. No, I did not.
So you didn't know she was back on drugs.
No, I did not.
You did know she had some violent tendencies, right?
I knew she had some, yes.
Yeah, she threatened you during the course of your marriage, didn't she?
Yeah, not violently.
So then you're asking me a question of whether you should have taken the baby to the bathroom or not with you. What do you think?
I don't think I should have, no. I mean, if the baby was laying there sleeping, why would I take him to the bathroom with me?
So do you think that all these injuries, from your knowledge of being a father, you have an older son who's 14, correct?
Correct?
Did he ever get hurt growing up?
Yes, minor injuries
Minor injuries from what?
from just being a boy and playing
Being a boy.
outside.
Falling?
Hmm.
Jumping out trees? Yes?
He never had no injuries falling out of a tree, no, but
Wrecked a bicycle? What kind of injuries did he get?
I just common injuries from a boy, got fingers smashed, stuff like that. He never really had no major injuries.
So from your experience, your common experience as a father with a 14-year-old son, do you honestly want this jury to believe that there was a drop of the baby that caused all these injuries?
Do I believe that a drop of the injury caused these baby? I'm not aware of what caused these injuries. So
You're
I
not
cannot tell
aware.
you.
But you would acknowledge something horribly violent happened to your son to break all those bones.
Obviously,
Where were you when this happened?
I had to be around the home.
Where were you when your son was dying?
Excuse me?
Where were you when your son was dying?
I had to be in the home or outside the home.
And at that point, do you recall another promise you made to Children's Services about choosing your children over your wife? Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
You broke that promise, didn't you?
I do not feel I broke that promise, no.
You do admit that you helped wrap your son for concealment in a cocoon. You admit that?
Yes, I do admit that.
And dropped him down a deep, dark, water-filled well.
Yes, I admitted that. I admitted that from the beginning.
And you knew where that well was,
Yes,
because you hunted there and you lost some of your dogs there.
yes.
And that broke you up losing dogs, didn't it?
That's been years ago. I mean, when you have hunting dogs, you lose them all the time. No, it never really broke me up.
So at that point, your child is dead. Did you notice any swelling of the legs or arms or anything in that regard?
No, I did not.
Now, you guys changed that child, baby Dylan, your newborn son, before you put him in the well, didn't you?
Excuse me, what was the question?
You changed him out of clothes or put him in different clothes before you put him in the well, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Well, there's a laceration on his arm. There's not one on the clothing he had on. How do you explain that then?
I don't know, but we did not change him. He was in the same, he got put in there the very same thing he had on when he died. The only thing different was he had a blanket wrapped around him.
So you were near there when he died. You know, the same clothing, weren't you?
Yes?
You didn't do anything to stop it when he died, did you?
How was I going to stop something that was already happened?
Why even bother? Why even try? Is that your testimony?
No, not why would I try. I'm saying, how would I do anything after he's deceased?
Heaven forbid he have a proper burial.
I admitted to that.
But let's see, what did you tell Children's Services throughout this time when your wife's shaking your baby and hitting her heads? What were you telling them? Well, let's see, what were you doing? Were you missing juvenile court?
I missed an appointment, yes.
So that's a yes?
Yes.
Were you telling Children's Services that your baby boy was growing like a weed?
Yes, I did. He was.
You didn't tell him he was getting shaken by his mom or struck in the head multiple times, did you?
No, I did not. It only happened one time.
Oh, okay, so the time where she's shaking him like this and hitting him in the head was only one occasion?
It was within 2 days, yes.
Within 2 days? That's
I'm
more than
not
one,
sure.
isn't it?
I'm not sure on the time frame, no.
Not sure on the time frame. So this time frame of healing fractures and Daniel Jr.'s testimony that the baby had that bruising for 3 days to a week, those are all bunk. Is that what you're saying?
I never saw no swelling or bruising like that, just from on the forehead is all I ever saw.
You never saw any of that. Your 14-year-old son, do 14-year-old sons pay attention to a lot of stuff?
Yeah, they pay attention to a lot.
Well, I'll tell you, your son is a good boy,
Yes, he is.
and he's a smart kid,
Yes, he is.
but he noticed this, right?
He says he did, yes.
And you didn't notice this.
No, I did not.
Or did you choose to ignore it?
I did not ignore it. I did not notice it.
And you told Children's Services everything was okay, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And it wasn't, was it?
Obviously not.
I think the jury's heard enough, Your Honor. No further questions.
Mr. Keenan, Ms. Scott, any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, 3 questions.
You heard Daniel testify here yesterday, correct?
Yes.
You heard Daniel when I was asking him questions about dates and when things happened. Do you recall hearing that?
Yes.
Okay. Did you recall hearing him or give testimony that he wasn't remembering exact dates?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Although he is a very smart child, very bright child,
Yes.
recalling dates, is that easy to do on any given occasion, especially after you've gone through a traumatic event such as this?
Yes, it is.
It is easy to do or easy to lose track of dates?
It is easy to lose track of dates.
Okay. Do you believe that Daniel was trying to testify honestly?
I believe he was trying to, yes.
Okay.
Objection, Your Honor, that's an improper question. The answer is that the jury determined credibility witnesses.
Is it your testimony that Daniel was not recalling the proper dates in regards to him providing urine for you for your friend?
Yes, I do. He think he was mistaken on those dates.
You were asked about violating your promise in regards to Children's Services, in regards to Jessica staying at the home overnight when she was not supposed to be there. Do you recall giving that testimony?
Yes.
Okay. What did you tell Patricia Kraft about that incident or incidents?
About her staying in the home?
Yes.
I told Patricia that I had allowed her to stay there a couple of nights because it was very cold and that she didn't have nowhere to go, and I was concerned about her staying out in the cold, which she had told me she had done a couple of times.
Okay. That was reported.
Yes. I reported it to Patricia Kraft. Whether she reported it or not, I don't know. She didn't report a lot, I said.
Let's talk about the crying and the hitting that you described to Detective Conkle. Could you please explain to the court what you were trying to say in regards to, you were trying to give an answer in regards to making mistakes, and whether or not you had stopped that behavior, or what you had done about that behavior, or what you thought about that behavior. Could you please tell the court what you were trying to answer in regards to that?
I told him that about me making mistakes.
Making mistakes, stopping Jessica's behavior, keeping her away from the baby, it was around that line of questioning in regards to, did you believe that she was injuring the baby?
No, I did not believe that she was doing nothing to injure the baby, no. And I had talked with her and told her, and, you know, had conversations with her, and she apologized and agreed that she would do better, and I never saw no more outbursts in her because she was going through treatment. I thought she was doing good.
Were you aware of any injuries that the baby had sustained as a result of Jessica hitting or striking the baby?
No, I checked him out. There was not even a red mark.
Did you form an opinion about Dylan's injuries or suspicion of injuries after you checked him out?
Yes, I come to the conclusion that he was fine.
You were asked about whether or not Dylan was wearing the same item of clothing as when he passed away, as to when he had the blanket wrapped around him and wrapped in plastic. Are you sure about that?
To my knowledge, he was not changed at all.
Okay. And let's talk about what you were telling Children's Services after baby Dylan passed away. Were you being honest with them?
No, I was not.
Why were you not being honest with them?
Because I was afraid that I would get the blame for it completely.
What was Jessica saying at that point in regards to Children's Services and reporting to Children's Services and coming to court and missing court dates? What was she saying you should do?
About reporting.
About going to Children's Services, reporting Dylan's death to Children's Services, showing up for court appearances, how to explain where Dylan was.
After his death?
Yes.
She was just threatening me about blaming it on me, and she was just saying that she was not going to go to any more appointments after that.
What about court appearances?
She didn't want to go to any court appearances after that.
What about meeting with Patricia Kraft?
She did not want to meet with Patricia Kraft.
You were asked about whether or not you thought the baby just died. What is your opinion about that?
What is my opinion about him? I thought he just died.
Yes.
I thought that he had just died from something. I had no clue that he had sustained any injuries to cause his death. There was nothing to make me believe that. Nothing at all.
How did his scalp or head appear when you found that Dylan had passed away?
It was completely fine. There was no bruising or swelling on it at all.
The picture and the photograph that we were shown taken as part of his autopsy. Is that how Dylan's scalp appeared when you first discovered that he had passed away?
No.
The chest, did you unzip his zipper on his sleeper?
When he passed away?
Yes.
Yeah, I unzipped him and looked him over.
I'm sorry?
I unzipped the front of his sleeper and looked him over in his chest and stuff like that, yes.
Okay. Did you see any of that purple or red mark
No.
on his chest?
No, I did not.
Did you observe anything, or did you form an opinion in regards to how baby Dylan had passed away after you discovered that he had passed?
The only thing that I could come to the conclusion of was SIDS.
Okay.
Objection, Your Honor, as to the opinion that layperson is not allowed to make.
He can testify as to what his belief was at the time.
But if that was the case, why then did you not call the police? Because SIDS would have been a perfectly accountable explanation.
Because of being involved with CPS and for my wife threatening to blame me.
Did you then, at that point in time, did you form a different opinion about how he may have passed away?
No, I didn't.
Did you form an opinion once she started threatening you to blame you for his death, that maybe she caused his death?
No, I did not.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Any further questions?
No further questions, sir.
Mr. Stratton, any recross?
No further questions, Your Honor.
State wish to recross?
No, Your Honor.
Sir, please step down. Will counsel approach? One issue that I'd skipped over earlier, Mr. Stratton, you had identified Defendant's Exhibit A1, which was a picture of the Groves home on Mount Hope Road. You are offering that as evidence, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, we ask that be admitted.
Any objection?
No objection.
Defendant Jessica Groves Exhibit A1 will be admitted. Defendant's Exhibit A was offered, marked only for purposes of identification, has not been offered. Ms. Scott, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, this time, on behalf of the defendant Daniel Groves, we would rest.
The defense has rested. This time, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a short recess. I remember my earlier admonition to you, do not discuss this case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Do not permit anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence. It is your duty not to form or express an opinion on this case until it's finally submitted to you. Let Mr. Hutchins know when you're ready to come back to the courtroom, and we'll be ready when you're ready. Court is recessed.